Did it feel like this day was not coming? Anybody was like, oh, where's Krista? I know it felt like, there's Krista. We made it. I want everybody to turn around and give a shout out and some love to Krista, beloveds online. For everybody who packed a box, moved a thing, swept a thing, helped in any way for the move, please stand. Absolutely. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so I hope you will join me over these next several weeks with just a little exhaling. Because I can tell you, I am exhaling. And I am experiencing what it means to be a change shaper. And I invite all of you for this next bit of time that we spend together to consider yourselves a shaper of change. That's what we're talking about today. Does anybody use affirmations? Yes. Anybody vision boarding? Do I have any spell casters? Witches, wizards? Yes, wizards. Every single one of those methods are making use of spiritual law. They are not wildly different ideas or practices. Every single one of those practices, those attempts at shaping change, are making use of spiritual law. The spiritual law of cause and effect. The spiritual law of manifestation, the law of attraction, however you want to name it. Every single one of those things is an art, if you will, to align ourselves with the power of spirit. Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, defined this process, the creative process. And the Centers for Spiritual Living, of which we are a member, describes it like this. The one infinite reality operates through the universal law of cause and effect. The universal law is impersonal, automatic, and intelligent. The universal law receives the direct impress of Spirit's impulse and acts upon it, bringing it into form. Individuals, you and I, have this same threefold nature, and that we get to use the creative process to shape our human experience and alignment with the whole, perfect, and complete reality. Did you know that you were that badass? That you can take the spiritual power of the infinite reality and shape the manifest reality. One of the things that I think is so special about communities like ours is that we get to take these ideas, these practices, and these methods that we learn on Super Soul Sunday or in the latest women's magazine, vision boarding and affirmations and sticky notes on the bathroom mirror, and we get to up-level. We get to take this sort of surface practice and take it up to where we actually align ourselves with an infinite reality, infinite power. We've been talking this last month in our beginning of our series on the way of transformation, right? The mission here is that we transform lives and communities. And we're spending 3 months on how to do that. So last month, we started out with how to be in alignment, how to be where God shows up. And it is my belief that there is a process in this creative process, and it is a be, do, have. And that when we can be in the beingness of our divine nature, then we move into the doing. And then we get to have the having. And that is actually a way for us to think about the use of spiritual law. As first, we have to acknowledge who we're being, which is what we spent September talking about. And what we're going to spend October talking about is, okay, what do I do now that I am willing to toy with this idea that I am a divine creature who has access to spiritual power? And when we decide that we get to consciously make use of spiritual law and the creative process, we step into being shapers of change. There's a super popular phrase in the New Thought community, change your thinking, change your life. We probably had bumper stickers in a bookstore at some point that said that. I hate that phrase. Because I don't think it's true. I think it oversimplifies. I think it's what you're going to get in the women's magazine and your cute little vision boards and affirmation stickers. Change your belief, shape your life. I think this is more true. Because we are always in relationship with the whole. There is one life. Yes, there's one life, there's one fabric, and we each are a thread in that fabric. So to imagine that somehow my thread is going to be over here on its own little piece of fabric, making its own picture, and y'all can do what you want with your threads over there. That's actually not how it works. One fabric, one life. You and I each have a role to play inside this greater reality, this greater wholeness. And it is always in context of the one life, of the whole that you and I belong to. And so with that in mind, I want to come back. The alignment with Spirit puts us in the flow of Spirit. But what is true in this description of the creative process is that we have to be in alignment with the whole, perfect, and complete reality. Consciously in alignment, because the truth is, the capital T truth is, we can never step outside of that reality. There is no other place to go. There is no other reality. There is one reality. But when we choose to consciously align ourselves with that one reality, with our divine nature, with that divine guidance that Dino read about in his reading, when we consciously align with that, that is what gives us the capacity and the power to be in conscious co-creation with the infinite reality. But the work is in the aligning process. The work is in the understanding of this law, of this principle, of this spiritual power that we have access to. We have all been given this incredible opportunity with breath in our bodies to shape a life, to make a life. And many of us, I think, spend a lot of time wondering why our lives are shaped how they're shaped. Wondering what it is we can do about how my life is showing up. Wondering what it is I can do about how life is showing up. And often feeling small. And with not enough power or capacity to make change. And yet there is this greater reality always available, always moving for good, always looking for greater expression through yours and my alignment with our divine nature. And I love that in spiritual community that you and I can get together and say, you know, I am not feeling the shape of life right now. It's not my jam. I don't like how so-and-so's showing up. I don't like how them over there is showing up. I don't like how I'm showing up. Can you help me know a greater reality? Can you help me consciously begin to create a different shape? Because we are in this together. This is the power of spiritual community. Because when we start to practice and we try to do this thing on our own, we have this fantasy, this illusion that my fabric is my fabric. I'm over here weaving my own thing. You weave your thing. And we're under this false reality that somehow it is possible to figure it all out and do it all by myself. that I don't need you, that you don't need me. And it is simply not what is true. The other beautiful thing about consciously choosing to shape change is then in that conscious decision, you decide that you are willing to acknowledge your place in the whole. Because consciously choosing to shape change from a place of lack. We talked about this in September, right? I want what I want, and I want it because I don't have it, and there's not enough of it, and I want it anyways. But when we choose to go, you know what, I want to shape a change. I want to actively and consciously be a part of seeing change come forward. Then I have to acknowledge this change that I want to see arise in the world. I get to go back to the beginning of the formula and go, wait a minute, okay, I want this change. This is the future that I long for, the world that works for everybody, a life that works for me, whatever the thing is, the health, the love, the location that you want for yourself. When you've decided that that is a change you would like to see come into form, you get to go back to the beginning of the formula and go, okay, who am I being in relationship to that vision I have, to that change that I want to see? And we get to go back to the beginning of the formula and go, okay, I want that thing, but why? What is my deeper heart desire? I want this thing, and I want it because I want to have a greater experience of ease. Maybe that's your thing. You would like things to have the expression of ease. You would like ease to show up for more people in the world. So you get to come back to yourself and your thread. Am I being ease? And then we get into the doing, but we can't get into the doing if we don't first assess and honestly look at our being in it. This is actually where affirmative prayer or science of mind treatment comes in. I think often when we learn science of mind treatment, when we learn affirmative prayer, we get really excited because we start manifesting like parking spaces. Yes, anybody manifest parking spaces? Yeah. And we forget that it's more than a magic wand. The purpose of affirmative prayer and science of mind treatment, which is simply a way to pray to change your own consciousness. It is not a method to tell God what to do. It is not a method to get the parking spot or the fancy car. The whole purpose of science of mind treatment and affirmative prayer is to change your own belief and thinking, your awareness. And you know you need a change in awareness when you come back over to the beginning of the process and step honestly into what it is and who it is you are being. I want this thing to show up over here. So let me just like vision board and affirmative prayer and da da da. Okay, I'm waiting for the thing to come. Come on. I did the things. I made the vision board. I'm doing the affirmations. Why isn't this showing up? Why isn't everybody in the world acting right? That's my favorite prayer. Oh, because I'm using prayer like a magic wand instead of doing the deeper work, which is really what spiritual community is for. Let me come back to the beginning. Who am I being? What am I believing right now? This is when we pray. This is when we go, you know what? There's a condition in my life that I feel out of alignment about, that I know in the truth of my being is a misrepresentation of God and love. So let me come back over here and do these steps, which is step one of affirmative prayer. Let me recognize that there is only one. There's one love, one life, one intelligence. It is always moving for good. And I may have forgotten about that truth. I may not be being with that truth right now. And you'll know because you'll start praying those words, and there will be a thing in your body that's like, yeah, right. There's not only one. There can't be only one. But otherwise, if there was only one, that would not be happening. If there was only God moving for good, why is all the isness going down? That is why we pray, is to get into honest assessment and shift what is out of alignment in our own beliefs and consciousness. And you pray that first step, you pray that recognition until you can feel like maybe, yes, it's true. And if you get to the place where, okay, there's only one. I've said enough things, I danced it out, I sat in ceremony, whatever it is you need to do till you can get to a place of belief that there is only one. That's step one of prayer. Step two is, okay, I'm there. There's only one. God is right here, right now. And if God is in all places at all times, never missing, oh my God, that God has to be right here in me. That's step two. And you say that prayer until you believe it. Until it feels like a resonant reality in your experience that you too are made of divine stuff. And only then can you bring into your prayer what it is you are trying to make real in your lived experience. And so what I know about this form of prayer is sometimes it may take days to get through step one and step two. Sometimes it takes years. And when you are in that resonant place, when you are in that aligned place, the alignment with the infinite reality, that's when the magic wand comes out. That's when you've got the juju of the universe to start shaping change. That's when you can declare that anything in your life that is out of alignment with truth will simply dissipate. Because now you've got the juice. Now you are wielding the spiritual power that each one of us, as Dino said in his reading, is our divine birthright. But the work, which is why I believe you and I show up in rooms like these on a regular basis, rather than just Super Soul Sundaying and sticky notes on the bathroom mirror, is because you are ready to do the hard work of getting into alignment. And you want to do it with other people who are comrades on the mission. Who are going to be like, when you're like, I can't, I'm tired. I'm so tired of this stupid spiritual stuff. I just want some stuff to be easy, please. When you're in that place, there's a community member right behind you going, baby, I got you. It's going to be all right. You're tired today, I'm not. I can hold this with you. That's why. Because when you begin to get a glimpse, when you begin to have a taste of what that alignment feels like, you begin to understand there's no going back. There is no turning away from the wholeness that you've begun to experience. And the things that you begin to desire, the future you long for, the vision you have begins to change because you understand more. You understand that everything you create is always impacting the whole. You understand that your very vibration is impacting every aspect of animated life around you. You begin to understand how critical your thread in the fabric is. You begin to understand that a desire for yourself that is out of alignment with the whole simply is no longer worth your attention. And the conscious change shaper that you declare yourself to be, that change that you seek to be a change maker for, begins to more obviously be connected with that greater fabric. It begins to shape you as you seek to shape it. You begin to value, everybody ready? I'm going to say a word that nobody really likes. You begin to value surrender. You begin to value being out of control. And I often see this value missing in spiritual communities like ours. I was in a class yesterday with the practitioners, two students. We were looking at the Ernest Holmes 1927 What We Believes. And one of the What We Believes, and I'm not going to say it in the right exact Ernest language, but not important. But the language is, we believe that we can control conditions with the power of mind. And one of the students was like, I don't know that that's how I see that. And I was like, all right, let's get into it. Let's wrestle with this. Because I don't believe that either. I don't think it's ours to be in the business of controlling anything. You can't be in a co-creative, collaborative experience and try to be controlling. Nobody likes you when you do that. Anybody have that experience on a team and you're trying to run the whole show? I know a lot about it because I'm bossy. So since the littlest of days, I've been that girl that like, oh, is she on our team? Because I want to control everybody and everything, and I want to make sure they do it my way, and so that it has the outcome that I want. Anybody understand that? Mm-hmm. So sometimes when we find teachings like this, or we find spells, or affirmations, or the tool of vision boarding, those of us who love some control think we have found a thing. Oh, now I get to control the universe. This is some exciting stuff. And yet our power lies in giving up control. Our power lies in getting into relationship with the divine creative force of the one life, the one intelligence. That divine guidance that is promised as our birthright is a guidance. That means we, as individual drops in the ocean, must be willing to be open to guidance. We must be willing to listen for, watch for, feel for, sense for that impulse of love that is rising in our being, that is divinely given. And allowing ourselves, surrendering to that impulse. And this is a very different thing than controlling conditions with the power of mind. This is about being with the entire co-creative process of life itself and understanding my place in it, your place in it, as a vital participant and collaborator in the one life. It just has a totally different vibe than controlling conditions. Anybody? Yes? Can you see yourself as a divinely appointed collaborator? This is an answer part where you say something back. Okay. Yes. Say so online, beloveds. You are here by divine appointment. And you get to step into this greater reality, this greater belonging, when you decide that, yes, I will participate in consciously shaping change, along with all these other beautiful drops in the ocean. Which means I'm going to see about how my thread is harmonizing with the threads around me. I am going to put my attention beyond my own well-being to see how it is we are vibing together. How's the team doing? Am I doing my part? One of my favorite commitments in the 15 commitments of conscious leadership is commitment number 1, which is taking 100% responsibility. The thing is when we hear that, many of us think, oh, have I taken my 100%? Am I doing enough? Have I been responsible enough? But the actual best part of that commitment is not overtaking responsibility. Understanding wholly what is yours and what is not yours. And I'm pretty sure controlling the universe, not yours, not mine. But my 100% responsibility is my thread. And I have absolute responsibility and freedom about how my thread goes and how my thread is in harmony with all the other threads around me. If I'm all knotted up, got a big gap where I forgot to weave myself in, that's on me. But if there are a few million threads on the tapestry who are doing knotted up, gappy things, not mine. Let me come back to my thread. Get really clear about how my thread is working. And then I look at the threads that are near to me, that I have influence, that my vibrational forces can have impact around. That's my 100% responsibility. And when I choose to do the work of going back to the beginning of the process, getting really clear about who I'm being, and doing the work, the prayer work, recognizing and unifying and realizing, acknowledging and recognizing, unifying and aligning, experiencing and realizing. We have to acknowledge. We have to acknowledge what is. We have to acknowledge what is right here in my own life, what's going on with my thread, what's going on with my beloved's threads, what's going on in my neighborhood's threads, my communities that I participate and collaborate in. I acknowledge what is. I acknowledge when it's misalignment. And then I acknowledge and recognize that it too can only be happening within the one. And then I get over to the aligning and the unifying, which allows me then to have the experience that I long to experience, to make real what it is that I really want to make real. This is the power of this very simple set of steps. And the only reason I'm talking about the first 3 steps, for those of you who are familiar with the 5 steps of prayer, is the truth is the 5 steps are completely made up. Not by Ernest Holmes, not by any founders of the New Thought movement. These 3 steps were revealed and experienced in the practice of affirming a greater reality. And then they got codified. And nobody cares about codifying. It's not important. What's important is that you understand the purpose of this prayer is so that you have an opportunity to become more aware and more conscious of the greater infinite reality, the spiritual power that is yours to make use of. That's what those steps are about. So we can name them recognize, unify, realize. We can name them acknowledge, align, experience. Same. And when you do that, this really funny thing happens, which is what got codified. When you do that and you actually fully move into that process and recognize, realize that you have actually begun to shape change with consciousness, you will be grateful no matter what. The gratitude comes naturally. You don't have to force it. You don't need to be gratitude journaling. It just happens. Because when you get into those waters, when you taste that nectar, gratitude is just what happens. And faith, which is the releasing step, which is I have planted the seed and I'm going to let the soil do what the soil does because it's none of my business. That is just a natural outcome of doing the work of recognizing, real and unifying and realizing, of acknowledging, aligning, and experiencing. And every single one of us has access to this process. But the access to the process has nothing to do with if you will get to have the experience of it. Which is why I am on this stage right now, in this community right now, is because I know that it takes work. I know that it takes profound commitment. I know that it takes comrades. And that is why I am here. And I deeply, deeply hold the prayer that we will continue to be change shapers together. So if you are a yes to be a conscious co-creator, collaborator, and change shaper, anchor this with me in prayer. All right, let's pray. What I know for sure about this nature of the one, what I know in every fiber of my being, what I know is the only truth that is absolutely, capital T, true, is there is one life. There is one intelligence, there is one love, there is one wisdom, there is one absolute that is beginning of all that we know and all that we don't know, is right here, right now, and is beyond what we can see and understand. And that this one is the only power in the universe, and that you and I are made of this God stuff. That you and I, with this divine intelligence, have been brought into life in this moment on the planet right here and right now by divine appointment. That you and I are here on purpose to be the way, to be the how, to be the manifest reality of love, to be the manifest reality of harmony, to be the manifest reality of joy and peace and compassion and kindness. There is no other possibility. Because what I know about the one is it is all those things. And it is divinely, infinitely giving itself through our lived lives. And for that, I am wildly grateful. For that truth, for that reality, that you and I right here, right now, have been brought together on purpose to be the collective love right here, right now, in all the beautiful and unique shapes and ways that we choose to be that love, that life, that joy, that wisdom, that harmony. And I know that that holy sacred yes has been said by each one of you here, by each one of you on the other side of that camera, and I know because of that yes, it is already in motion. Our conscious awareness of the truth of who we are has already just grown and expanded, able to hold more of this life that doesn't always look so lovely, able to hold more love, to be that radiant love, reaching further than we've reached before. how good it is to be here right now, together, as the way, as the change shapers. I just let this be in the soil of the one, sprouting forth, blossoming forth all of its goodness. Anchor this with me in prayer by saying amen. Amen. Ashe, aho, and so it is. So it is.